Today we're going to look at Cold War, at what it would be like without skill-based matchmaking, and if there is a decent game buried beneath all the politics and BS of Activision. I would love to hear your guys' opinions, so hit that comment section down below and let me know what you think about Cold War with and without skill-based matchmaking, and if this game is a diamond in the rough. I just want to do a quick disclaimer myself. I am not a professional. I don't know what goes into developing a game. I don't know the politics that would happen at a business level within Activision to either implement skill-based matchmaking or why it's in the game. For what it is, I enjoy Cold War. I have fun playing it. I know there's a lot of people that don't like playing it, either because it was really buggy at launch or because the skill-based matchmaking makes it unplayable sometimes, or it's just not the style of Call of Duty they like to play. I'll share my opinions on why I think the game is good, and I'll share some critical criticisms on how you could make skill-based matchmaking better and the game better overall. Let's boil it down and look at Cold War without skill-based matchmaking. And I think Cold War has some substance to it. It has really bright, colorful, good-looking maps that actually flow really well. Spawns are really easy. You can either control them if you're a good player, but if you're also getting dominated and you're getting spawn trapped constantly, the spawns will flip and you have opportunities to break out of that spawn trap. I think the maps have really good layouts. There's not really one map where I dislike the layouts. They are the classic 3-lane maps with some little side paths, which make the games play much faster than a game like Modern Warfare. Now, comparing Cold War to Modern Warfare is a much more tactical Call of Duty. I'm not calling Call of Duty a tactical shooter because Rainbow Six Siege and CSGO and games like that are more tactical than an arcadey shooter like Call of Duty, but Modern Warfare was a lot slower paced than Cold War. It's almost like these spawns in Modern Warfare tried to send you to a safe place or an area where you weren't going to get spawn trapped right away. In Cold War, because the maps are smaller and a more classic Call of Duty layout, spawn trapping is a thing and the spawns are much faster. But the spawns are still really good though. They spawn you in fair scenarios. If enemies are too close to you, you won't spawn there unless every other spawn point in the game is being used. Now, FaZe Jevs made a really good video talking about spawns and free-for-all. I'll link that down below if you guys want to go check it out, but I completely agree with him. The spawns in Cold War are smooth and I haven't had issues whatsoever. Of course, you could say Nuketown has bad spawns, but Nuketown has always had screwed up spawns where they flip constantly and enemies can spawn right in front of you because that's how Nuketown has started from the beginning. I think there's a really good balance of weapons in the game. In Warzone, we see guns like the DMR and MAC-10 just dominating and everyone using them, but in Cold War, I feel like it's pretty balanced and there's not really one gun that sticks out more than others. Even, for example, the MAC-10 in multiplayer, it shoots extremely fast, but it's only good at close range because the recoil is so bad that it's almost unusable at medium to long ranges, so it's balanced in that fact. Both camo grinds are challenging towards completionists who want to complete both camos or one camo in their favorite game mode. If you actually did the DM Ultra grind without skill-based matchmaking, I don't think the grind would be as painful as it actually is. You would have more of an opportunity to complete camos because you're doing better at the game and can complete more challenges because of that. Now, Cold War isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There's actually a lot of things that are missing from the game or are incomplete. First, let's talk about in-game content. Come August, this won't be an issue because more seasons will have released free content, but at the game launch, there wasn't a whole lot to it. We had 8 maps, and then if you went to go play a game mode like Combined Arms Mosh Pit, the maps were the same as the 6v6 maps, except there was more playing area to them. Or you could look at it the other way around, where the 6v6 maps were the Combined Arms Mosh Pit maps, just shrunk down and you can only play in a specific area of it. This limits replayability to some extent. Yeah, there's a lot of challenges to do in Cold War and there's a lot of things to work towards, but it will get tedious and boring and even repetitive when you play on the same 8 maps over and over again with no variation of game modes. Now, there was the standard variation of game modes. You had your free-for-all, TDM, domination, search and destroy, and hardpoint, but we didn't have a lot of the game modes modes we have now that were brought in Season 1. There's Prop Hunt now, which is the first and hopefully first of many party game modes within Cold War. We now have the Snipers Only Mosh Pit. We have weekly playlists and game modes now. We even have new permanent game modes. I really don't know what they are because I haven't paid attention to it, but we have new permanent game modes. Where in Modern Warfare, the game launched with an underwhelming amount of space maps again for 6v6. However, at least there was the variation of having gunfight already in the game with the gunfight maps and the ground war maps in the game for ground war. So it really wasn't too big of an issue at launch. Now, the one good thing about launch for content for both games is there was lots of variety of weapons to use, so you weren't stuck using the same 4 meta weapons. The good thing about Cold War is it seemed more balanced weapon-wise at launch compared to Modern Warfare, because when Modern Warfare launched, it was MP5, M4A1, and the 725 sniper shotgun. And there wasn't really any unbalanced weapons when Cold War came out. Now, there was visual bugs and graphics issues. I don't know if this because the graphics issues and bugs were because the game was slightly unfinished at launch. I think we would be ignorant to deny that there was issues at launch for Cold War. There was graphics issues, crashing issues. However, they weren't too bad compared to previous releases, like Black Ops 4, for example. Now, I don't know what goes into dev testing and how they test all these bugs and visual crashes, but I don't know if that's just an industry standard now, because if we look at Cyberpunk 77, that game, I don't know much about it. I just know from the clips that I've seen that it's almost unplayable. But Cold War was at least playable. It had its issues, and thankfully they were fixed. I don't want to come off as an Activision simp here, but I'm going to be talking about the developers for Treyarch, and I don't know how much validity there is to this statement. This is just me speculating, but I feel like transitioning to a new generation of consoles may be difficult just because it runs different hardware. Now, for PC, it's super easy because you just optimize for the PC platform, and then depending on what specs you have in your rig, that's how well you can run the graphics in the game. However, running different systems from the PS4 to PS5, there could be some issues. For all we know, Cold War's development could have started off with the intention of the PS5 and Xbox 2 coming out a year after Cold War's launch. So halfway through development, Sony and Microsoft could have been like, hey, Activision or Treyarch, we're making new consoles and they're releasing here. Everyone knows new consoles are coming out, but this is the release date, which might throw a wrench into the development cycle because now, not only do they have to finish developing the base game, they also have to optimize the game for the next-gen consoles, which from a consumer's standpoint means that I expect the companies, Treyarch and Activision, to adapt to the new consoles coming out, and I have no clue if they did a good job or a poor job with making a game for the new consoles. Now, personally for me, I had very little issues on the PC. I had maybe 4 or 5 crashes in the first 3 weeks of the game being out, and other than that, I didn't have any issues. Now, that could be platform bias. And by me saying that there was a wrench thrown into the system in the development cycle, that's not me trying to simp for Activision and try to cover up the tracks of, oh, we shouldn't be too harsh on them. They might have had this happen. That's just me trying to be fair. I feel like it would be unfair to the developers that really care about the game and want to make the game as good as possible, but are kind of pushed down into the shadows by the higher ups at Treyarch and Activision. Because I know there's developers that really care about the game and feel really bad when the community backlashes because of simple issues that they had no control over. Now I want to talk about solutions on how to fix skill-based matchmaking in Cold War. Right now in time, my opinion is if you fix skill-based matchmaking, I think Cold War would be a pretty popular and good game. It's just skill-based matchmaking is deterring players from playing it because it's just too frustrating sometimes and not even worth it. But I think there's a really good game underneath. It's a Call of Duty game that all of us have been asking for. Simple maps, good weapons, fun challenges, fun game modes, and to put on top of that, there's actually a really good color palette to it with high contrast, unlike Modern Warfare that was kind of dull. Now, that's not a shot at Modern Warfare. I love Modern Warfare. Just putting that out there. Here's how we can fix skill-based matchmaking. I would be completely fine if it was in the game, if there was 2 game modes or like 2 different skill-based matchmaking brackets, casual and competitive. super easy. A lot of people have talked about it. If you want to play casual Call of Duty, have fun where there's a high diverse number of players in the game of different skill levels, where you'll have a variety of really good players and really bad players in the game, kind of like how Call of Duty used to be in the golden era from Modern Warfare or COD 4 to Black Ops 2. And if you wanted a challenge, go play the competitive mode, and in the competitive mode you're playing against people of the same caliber of skill as you. And in the competitive mode you could play for ranks similar to Rocket League competitive, CS:GO competitive, League of Legends competitive, basically any game that has a good competitive game mode. Now some of you may be thinking, what about the really bad players who are brand new to the game and this is their first game they're ever playing, so they might not be up to par with the muscle memory of how a controller works? Well, simple answer, combat training. If you look back to Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, there was specific combat training game modes where you were put into lobbies where half of the player base was recruit bots and half of the player base was players who were learning to play the game. And to protect those players from the really sweaty tryhard people who would just drop high kill streaks, to deter them away from playing in that playlist, the XP rates are cut in half once you reach level 20 in game. So your XP rates are normal until you reach level 20, and by then you should have the base fundamentals to go into normal public matches. However, if say you're FaZe swag and you want to get a really good gameplay, you could go into that combat training game mode, but there's obvious bots in there and people could call you out for playing against bots, and the XP rates are cut in half. So if you're trying to level up guns or level up weapons, you're going to be doing it at a slower rate than you would in a regular match. I think it would be a great thing to bring back combat training. Now I know combat training has been kind of semi-replaced with private matches and private match bots. If you wanted to learn the fundamentals of the game, you could do so in there, but I feel like the combat training having XP available to new players while they learn the game encourages them to go into public matches and then play the game normally after they get used to it. That way, you have the super tryhards in competitive, the people who just want to play casual Call of Duty play in the casual playlist, and the brand new players who have never played a first-person shooter before in combat training, so it's the best of literally every single option there is. Of course, there will be people that exploit this, where in competitive they still might reverse boost to play in ranks lower than what they should be. But eventually, when they do good, their rank will get bumped back up, so it's a huge waste of time for them. There will be people in casual who are leaps and bounds ahead of other players. However, that's just how it goes sometimes. And in combat training, it's kind of pointless to go in there for gameplay because it's a non-credible playlist where it would be obvious to tell that you're playing against bots. That aside, I hope we do get a solution for skill-based matchmaking soon, or at least they acknowledge it, because they have still yet to acknowledge that it's in the game and they are silencing everyone that has spoken out against it or have just ignored them straight up. I hope you guys did like this video. Leave a like if you did enjoy, dislike if you didn't. There's no hard feelings. I really want to know what your thoughts and opinions are on this topic. Remember that everyone has different opinions, so if you're down in the comments and someone has the exact opposite opinion as you, don't attack each other. Be respectful. It is just a video game at the end of the day. Anyway, subscribe for more videos in the future. Join the Discord, which is linked in the description, and if there is one, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.